What's up, Christ-Centered Mental Health community? This is me, David Lee Chu Sarche. I represent Christ-Centered Mental Health Ministry, the ministry where I talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective in order to give you real hope in Jesus' name to the glory of God the Father. All right, I think I just lost my co-host, Joseph McDermott. I don't know why he just got kicked off, but let me go ahead and text him real quick. All right, he's back. All right. Anyways, like I said, this is the Christ-Centered Mental Health Ministry where we talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective in order to give you real hope in Jesus' name to the glory of God the Father. All right, before we get started on this video or this discussion, I have a quick announcement for those of you that are new to the channel. Please check out the Christ-Centered Mental Health Ministry website. It's www.christcenteredmentalhealth.net. There you can see our statement of faith. You can have access to the On Faith and Mental Health blog. You can check out the Christ-Centered Mental Health bookstore. You can also find out how to contact me or someone on the team for 24-hour peer support. And you can find out how to support the ministry through via Patreon, Venmo, or Cash App. All right, another thing I want to let you guys know about, because I need your guys' prayer. I was recently in the medical hospital because I had, what they thought I had cellulitis in my legs, but it turned out that I really had what's called venous insufficiency, which has something to do with my veins in my legs. So it's a lifelong thing I have to deal with, but it can be managed. I have to exercise more, stop smoking, and I have to wear compression socks for the rest of my life. So I have an appointment to the wound clinic on the 11th to get fitted for my compression socks. So if you guys can, just please pray for me about this, because it's a big, huge life change for me. So please keep me in your prayers about this. As you can tell, that this show is mine and Joseph's bi-weekly podcast called Real Life with Schizophrenia. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm pretty good.
That's good. So is there any announcements you want to make before we get into this discussion?
I'm gonna be getting a job soon and try to move out of this neighborhood and pray on that.
All right, cool. Definitely be in prayer for you about that. All right, so what we're doing in this episode, we're going to talk about two disorders that we picked out. And then, if you guys have in the future shows, if you guys have any other disorders you want us to talk about, let us know. But the two disorders we picked out for tonight is OCD and antisocial personality disorder. So, first, I would like us to start off with OCD. Before I get into what the DSM-5 says about OCD, I'll let Joseph. Can you say what your understanding of obsessive compulsive disorder is?
Well, when I first heard about it and I heard the symptoms, I thought it was just someone that looked at like if someone moved a picture frame the wrong way, they must have it the right way or it would drive them nuts. And I realized there's a lot more to it than just that. That's just one of the many symptoms. But basically, it's like a thinking process where you can't function, like you get like anxiety and worrisome if something's not the right way, and you just kind of like think about it over and over again. and it can be for the littlest thing, and it can be rather bothersome for somebody.
Yeah, and like my understanding of OCD is also like you get like this like really obsessive thought that if you don't do a certain thing, something bad will happen to yourself or a loved one. So by doing that certain ritual, like you're it's almost like you think you're saving yourself or you're saving your loved one from something bad happening too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
I forgot. Sorry.
All right, so we're gonna go to the DSM-5. Which those of you who don't know what the DSM-5 is, it stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It's the latest book on mental disorders out. I mean, the DSM-5. I don't know when it came out, but it's the latest one. They haven't come up with the DSM-6 yet. But anyway, so here's what it says about obsessive compulsive disorders. It says okay, so it breaks it down. It says what an obsession is first. It says obsessions are defined by one and two. The first one is recurrent and persistent thoughts, urges, or images that are experienced at some time during the disturbance as intrusive and unwanted, and that in most individuals cause marked anxiety or distress. So basically, you're having intrusive thoughts or urges or images that's causing you to increase anxiety. And
Is,
I can
is it
definitely
a
relate to
personality
that.
flaw or a chemical imbalance?
That's a good question. I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
But like I can kind of resonates with me because I remember when I was younger, I used to have like really bad obsessional thoughts telling me like, oh, like I remember when I was younger and I was in juvenile detention, I would literally feel like really anxious because I thought like every little thing I did was a sin that's damning me to hell. So I remember I was constantly walking around scratching my chest, mumbling prayers to God, asking God. I was like, please God forgive me for this. Please God forgive me for that. Please God forgive me for this. I was doing that every single day, like for like I don't even know how long.
Yeah. Yeah, like when you're younger and you're suffering from mental illness, and like when I got my first girlfriend for the first time, I was really happy about it, and I called her all the time, and I was always talking to her all the time, and I think it drove her away, and like
Yeah, yeah.
so,
So the other number two is the individual attempts to ignore or suppress such thoughts, urges, or images, or to neutralize them with some other thought or action. So basically, when you're like someone with OCD, when they're having their thoughts and intrusive thoughts and images and stuff, they try and suppress that. And one of the way, and they usually try and suppress those thoughts by doing a compulsion or a ritual. And it goes on. It says compulsions are defined by one and two. It says compulsions are repetitive behaviors, for example, hand washing, ordering, checking, or mental acts, for example, praying, like how I just said I used to do, courting, repeating words silently. That's basically what I was doing when I was in juvie. This is that the individual feels driven to perform in response to an obsession and are according to rules that must be applied daily or
so
rigidly.
maybe someone with that kind of relies on those things that spin or like slime perhaps, or these kind of things to relieve themselves, or maybe even cigarettes, they could possibly have OCD, like to
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Then it says the behaviors or mental acts are aimed at preventing or reducing anxiety or distress or preventing some dreaded event or situation. That's basically what I just said. Like people with OCD, they feel the need to do these compulsions because they think they're saving themselves or their loved ones from something bad happening.
Right.
Um, so then it goes on. Okay. So this was interesting. It says the obsessions or compulsions are time consuming. For example, take more than 1 hour per day, or cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. that's exactly what I was going through when I was in juvie. Like I would like it was really interfering. It was very time consuming because I was always like every second I was asking God for forgiveness for something, like mumbling a prayer under my breath every second of every day. And I wasn't socializing with anyone. I was kind of like an oddball. I was sitting off by myself and I was just mumbling prayers all day long.
Right, right.
Um, but then it says the obsessive compulsive symptoms are not attributable to the psychological effects of a substance or another medical condition. So, in other words, like when I was doing what I did, I wasn't being obsessive over I didn't have OCD. What I was doing is easily can be chalked up to my schizoaffective disorder.
Right.
So it's saying this OCD is something separate from mental illness or substance abuse.
Yeah. So there's some things that if you have like bipolar or schizophrenia or something like that, it can seem like you have OCD, but you really are suffering from another mental illness. But you
Exactly.
really don't have it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, all right. And then it says the disturbance is not better explained by symptom. Oh, hold on. Okay. That's pretty much it for that one. Okay, so the next disorder we're going to talk about is antisocial personality disorder. Joe, can you, in your own words, what do you think antisocial personality disorder is?
From what I understand, it's someone who has no remorse, no empathy. They start out when their children is killing like rats and cats and dogs, and oftentimes if it's not recognized and they don't get treated properly with therapy, they can graduate to people. And
Yeah,
oftentimes serial killers suffer from this, and so it's just someone who has no lack of remorse, and has no, like, they can hurt someone and they don't get excited or anything. They just kind of like just do it because just is kind of what they do.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't drive emotions up or down.
Yeah, they're pretty much like sociopaths. They don't really
Right,
care about anyone but themselves.
right.
Chuck Ward comments, "Hey, greetings from New Jersey." Hey, Chuck, thanks for
Hey, Chuck.
watching. All right,
Amen, brother.
so what the DSM-5 says about antisocial personality disorder, it says, okay, so it says a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15 years as indicated by three or more of the following. So in order for someone to be diagnosed with anti personality disorder, they have to meet at least three or more of these symptoms. Hold on. Flavby said, "Hey guys," and Chuck, "Hey, how you doing today? Thanks for joining." Or Fishby, never mind. Thank you, Fishby. All right, so the three or more of the following. So number one, failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. So basically, they keep on doing criminal activities that are bound for arrest, and they just keep doing it. Like they violate social norms. The next one is deceitfulness as indicated by repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. So basically, they do things in order to benefit themselves. They don't care about how it affects other people.
Right.
And then impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. So they're very impulsive. They don't look to the future. They pretty much live in the here and now.
Right.
Um, so Fishy says, I think a major one with these lists over people overdiagnosed. Yeah, people do overdiagnose. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Um, so the next one is irritability and aggressiveness as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. So basically, they're always getting into fights with people. Actually, you know what? all of this that I'm reading so far seems like it could be chalked up to what God calls fits of rage. But, the
Right.
next one is consistent irresponsibility as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations. So basically, they don't honor they don't honor rules. They want to pretty much do their own thing and be like kind of like a rebel without a cause. And then it says, like you just said, it says lack of remorse as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another.
Yeah.
So basically, they have no remorse for what they do when they harm other people. And then it says the individual is at least 18 years old. Hold on, wait. I don't get this. Up here it says pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15. But then down here it says the individual is at least 18 years. I guess it's saying they exhibit symptoms from the age of 15, but they cannot be diagnosed with anti-personality disorder until they're 18. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And it says there is evidence of conduct disorder with onset behavior before 15 years. So basically, they're basically exhibiting antisocial personality disorders at the age of 15. And it says the occurrence of antisocial behavior is not exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or bipolar. Wait, hold on, let me read that again. The occurrence of antisocial behavior is not exclusively during the course of. Okay, so it's not people. It's not exclusive to just people with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a personality flaw. You can be just no with no chemical imbalance and be that way anyway.
Exactly. Okay, so Flabby says, I think a major one of these lists where people, okay, so then they said they're not taking seriously how bad these things are, how extreme. Yeah, I agree. They're really not taking them seriously.
Yeah, that's a big issue because when I go to these clinics and clubs and stuff, not everybody, but I want to say like most of the people that work at these clinics kind of treat us like we're just like we're not even human beings, to be
Yeah,
honest. Like oh, not to say we need to be pampered, but a lot of us do need special care. And like,
yeah,
unfortunately for me and David, we're high functioning, but a lot of us do need extra care. And
exactly.
it's like treating us the wrong way is doomsday. It's like it's just it's we've been through enough, so like with our lives and like that's one thing something every mentally ill person has in common. We've all been through hell. So,
Exactly, yeah.
so
So we can all relate to each other. I
right.
know, I know, Joe, you want to talk about that one guy that you
Oh
think has.
yeah. There was a guy who lived in the upper east coast, I think New Jersey. His name was Richard Kuklinski, and he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. And he he was a serial killer type that exaggerated his murders and stuff, and
Yeah,
and he kind of had other aliases and whatnot, and but he did kill, and he got caught, and he had his wife and kid have no idea. They thought he was
yeah,
just like a kind of a mean dad, but they had no idea
yeah.
he was doing stuff like that. And
Didn't they make a
so
movie about him?
yeah, they made a movie, but the movie was about his past that didn't really exist.
Yeah,
His lies, so to speak.
yeah. So he pretty much just made up a false
Yeah, yeah.
story.
The movie on Netflix, that was just stories he made up, but
Yeah,
he was a pretty mean guy though. Like they a psychologist interviewed him on some HBO specials, and that guy diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder and also paranoid personality disorder.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely like you gotta like hold on. So Flabby said, okay. Oh, so what's going on with you guys? I'm new here. I'm doing all right. I've just been busy with my biblical counseling courses. I've been studying a lot before my next course starts on the 23rd. So
Yeah.
I'm getting prepared for that. Um,
Yeah. I'm just I'm trying to make money with my phone, and it's not really working. So I need a real job, and so pray on that if you don't mind, so I
yeah,
can make
exactly.
some more funds here.
Yeah, Flavmy also says, so what's going on with you guys? Antisocial person? No, I don't. We don't have anti-personality
I'm
disorder.
schizoaffective with ADHD.
Yeah,
That's my official
yeah. I'm
diagnosis.
I'm also schizoaffective with separation anxiety too. Actually, that's something good to talk about. For those of you that don't know what schizoaffective disorder is, schizoaffective disorder is schizophrenia with mixed with a mood disorder like bipolar or depression. I happen to have schizophrenia mixed with bipolar type 1, which means I have more manic episodes than I do depression episodes. And then on top of that, I also have separation anxiety, which means I get like an irrational anxiety and fear when I'm separated from people that I'm close to, and like I start thinking something bad is gonna happen to them, or they're gonna abandon me and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm bipolar and schizophrenia as well, but I get more depressed than manic. And but there's a Bible verse in the Old Testament that says affliction refines you like fine silver.
Yeah,
So uh, every time I get out of it, I get stronger each time. And now
yeah,
now when I get kind of down, I don't get so down because it's not my first rodeo, and
yeah,
a wife now who supports me. And like my parents were very narcissistic and abusive to me, and they never gave me edification or treated me with any kind of love, and so
yeah,
it's like until my wife got in the picture, I was getting depressed a lot, and
yeah.
not so much.
All right. So now I think it's time for us to go to the videos. Uh, The first video we'll watch is the one you sent me about OCD, since we talked about OCD first.
Right.
All right, can you see it?
Yeah.
Just start drawing my
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
If you're like most people, you probably think OCD looks like this. I just love getting them all in the right order. And maybe you have said this. Oh my gosh, I am so OCD, I have to check my alarm like 3 times before I'm able to fall asleep at night.
I'm not gonna lie. I've been guilty of saying it's like I'm like, oh man, I'm so OCD because I can't I have to because I'll have instances where I'd walk all the way to the soup kitchen and then I'm like, oh man, did I forget to lock the door? So I walk all the way back just so I can make sure I lock the door. And I'll say things like, oh man, my OCD is bothering me about whether or not I lock my door.
Yeah. It's like it's hard to keep up with all these acronyms, with the ADD and ADHD and
Yeah,
OCD and BDSD.
yeah, exactly.
Huh, we're gonna take the whole alphabet someday.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably heard someone say this. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to be a bit more OCD about this, okay? None of this is OCD. What OCD really looks like is this. What's happening here?
Yeah,
How does the
I'm
mind of
wondering
someone
that
who has
too.
OCD work, and what can be done to help them? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's back up and get some context first. A little over 1% of people have experienced OCD in the past year. That's way less common
Wow.
than most anxiety disorders. So no, you statistically probably don't have OCD. But you might.
I didn't
Maybe
really realize that few
So
people that few people have an OCD. It's interesting because like you hear like a lot of people all the time saying, "Oh, I have OCD. My OCD is constant." And you would think just by hearing people talking about it, labeling themselves as OCD, you would think it'd be a lot more people. But 1%? That's wow.
Yeah. So, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's personality flaws, there's chemical imbalances, and anxiety disorders. The various ones that they are probably triggered by something traumatic or something in the
Yeah,
past that makes you think a certain way. And
yeah,
okay,
exactly.
all right.
That's why you click this video, or maybe you love someone or know someone who has OCD. Now, while OCD is not that common, it is a very serious problem. About half the people who have OCD experience severe impairment from it. What that means is everyday things like going to the bathroom, returning messages, going around town, being at school, being at work, being around the people we care about feels so difficult because it's so anxiety provoking, and it takes so much time when you have OCD. When we say, "Oh, I'm so OCD," but we're really talking about double checking and wanting things to be organized and clean, we belittle the experience of OCD and
That's interesting. I never really thought about that when you said, "Oh, I'm so OCD. I gotta keep this area clean." Like I can see what he means that it belittles people who actually truly have OCD. It's like when people say, "Oh my goodness, I'm bipolar." Like my moods are
Yeah,
so bipolar today. It kind of
yeah,
like demeans
like
the struggle of real people that have bipolar disorder.
yeah. Or if someone gets upset, they go, "That guy's being schizo" or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
serious difficulties that people with this disorder have in their daily lives. Obsessive compulsive disorder is not a choice, it's not a preference, it's not being anal. OCD is a biologically based problem, and while we're not 100% sure what causes it, we know it's not your fault that you have it. It's something that probably started in childhood and got a lot worse during your teenage and young adult years. The neuroscience here can get really complicated really quickly, but to simplify it all, the parts of your brain that are responsible for rewards and error detection, movement, memories, they're not really communicating that well with each other. Because the brain of someone with OCD is wired a little bit differently, they're unsure if a simple task is complete or not. For most people, when you turn off a light switch, your brain registers that the task is complete and you're able to move forward with your life. But for people with OCD, they flip a light switch and then there's still some anxiety in their
You
head.
know what? This actually reminds me of. I remember when I was in juvie. I had a roommate one time. He like every night before we went to sleep, he had to like go to his drawer, pull out his socks, and like he laid them each on the table, and like he had to roll them up the way he wanted them rolled up, and then he would place them inside his drawer, like one at a time in perfect little rows. And he would do this every single day or every single night. And I don't know, I used to get mad because like the light would be on, I'd want to go to sleep. But like he would do that. He'd get up, pull his socks out of the drawer, lay them in a row on the table, and in like a row, a perfect straight row. And then he rolled them up the way he needs them rolled up. Then he placed them back into his drawer in a nice, perfect row, like 2 or 3 rows actually. And he would do that every single night. And if he missed a night of doing that, he would feel so anxious the whole night. He wouldn't get any
yeah.
sleep.
He probably had it.
I
That's
think,
a thing.
yeah. I knew another guy who, this was when I was in this teenage homeless shelter. Like this guy, we would like walk to the library, and he would have to count all his steps as we were walking to the library. And if he miscounted, he'd have to turn back around, walk back all the way to where he began, and start counting and walking all over again.
Wow. Yeah. So Yeah, so you probably met a couple people. I haven't met many myself. Like now that I can think of, I can just think of stories of like ball players that when they're like kind of like on a hot streak, they wouldn't take off their socks for a while or something like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
And your mind tries to make sense of that anxiety. It creates a story around it. Well, maybe I didn't turn it off all that way because there's some dust stuck in there. And if I don't do this again, well, maybe something bad could happen. Like there could be an electrical fire and the whole house might burn down.
Yeah.
This is what our brains do so well, create narrative and stories to make sense out of the chaos of the world. Except in the case of OCD, they're trying to make sense of anxiety that doesn't need to be there in the first place. This is why people with OCD experience thoughts, images, impulses that don't make much sense and are very hard to get out of their head. That's the O in OCD, obsessions, and they can include anything from this list right over here.
Oh, hold on. Okay, so obsessions. I like this list. Contamination, unwanted urges, sexual thoughts, religious thoughts, causing harm, horrific images, numbers, letters, and sounds. What I was experiencing when I was in juvie is that right there. I was obsessing over religious thoughts.
yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so even
Yeah,
numbers is there. So someone who like does all kinds of weirdo stuff with numbers and letters and all that stuff. Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
To try to reduce the anxiety from obsessions, people engage in compulsions, which can include anything from this list right over here. It's usually doing something over and over again, like a ritual, until it feels right and it feels complete, which does reduce anxiety for a little bit, but eventually that anxiety comes back when you have OCD. This brings us to the defining element of OCD. Doubt. People with OCD get consumed by doubt. Doubt becomes something that is so hard to get out of your head, and doubt starts.
That actually makes sense because I was obsessing over my religious thoughts. The thing I doubted that God could truly forgive me. I doubted that God truly loved me, and like I wanted to be right with God. So I thought, oh man, I have to constantly ask God for forgiveness for every little thing that I do. Otherwise, He's gonna strike me down at any moment. I'm going to hell.
Well, you did read the Bible at that point, didn't you?
Yeah, but I didn't really understand the Bible at the time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I was so riddled with like I thought God absolutely hated me. And like I was like constant. I didn't want God to strike me down.
Yeah.
Like actually, you know what? There is like a half. Like I was right. I was right about. So I was right that I was sinning every single day. I was sinning within my thought, words, and deeds every single day. And I was right that I should ask God for forgiveness for my sins every time I did sin. However, what I did not know was that because of Christ, all my sins were already forgiven,
Mhm.
present, and future.
Yeah.
I didn't need to obsess over it. Like I didn't need to obsess over my sin because Christ, when He went to the cross, He wiped away all my sins from the past, present, and future.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Spinning these narratives that keep people feeling trapped. Did I do that the right way? What if I didn't? Was that really a bump on the road, or did I just run someone over? Did I touch the counter at Starbucks, and does that mean I have AIDS? Did I say that prayer the wrong way? Am I going to hell now? I need to keep doing this till it feels right. I need to say the right numbers till it feels right. That doesn't feel right. Need to do it again. Need to do it again. I need to do it again. The doubt OCD creates takes up so much time from your day.
But that's enough of that one.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
See, like it seems like anybody can have one or two of these things sometimes, but to be
Yeah.
officially, it's usually three or more, right? To be actual.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
That's
That's why
true.
it's hard. It's because, like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of us, like, you know, even when you were saying the antisocial thing, you know, I feel like I'm a rebel without a cause too, even though I'm a Christian and I do have a cause and whatnot. But you know, I am very anti-government and whatnot, and you
Yeah.
know, like I do have opinions that are not status quo American. So you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
but
Uh,
yeah, at the same time, I do have remorse.
yeah.
I want everybody in the world to be at peace. That is my desire. I don't want no
Yeah.
one to go hungry. I don't want no one to be abused. I want everyone to have a family and have a healthy, despite your race, color, or creed. Whatever you're about, I want you to have a decent time here while you're here. You know, that's I wish
Yeah.
that would be the case, but
Yeah.
despite my
Exactly.
feelings, that's not going to ever happen. Till Christ
Exactly.
comes back, you know.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah.
All right. So the next video we're gonna go over. Uh, hold on. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Well, as you can tell, the title of this video is "Warning: Top or 10 Signs to Spot a Sociopath."
I'm Lisa Blanc,
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
a therapist, author, and life coach, and today I'm talking about 10 signs that you might be dealing with someone with antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD for short. I found that a lot of people recently are very confused between antisocial and narcissistic personality disorder. So I will also explain the key differences at the end of this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I post new content on Mondays, so please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. The term antisocial personality disorder first appeared in 1980 in the third edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM for short. Before this,
Oh
antisocial
wow!
personality
So I wonder what they labeled anti-personality or antisocial personality disorder before the DSM-5 3. I wonder what the DSM-1 and the DSM-2 called it, or if they had,
Yeah.
or if like the people that made that, if they had any idea about antisocial personality disorder.
I think the doctor of thugonomics, John Cena, would know.
Yeah. Okay.
disorder was labeled under psychopathy and sociopathy. People continue to use these terms interchangeably, but many professionals argue that there are clear distinctions between these disorders. Others believe that they all fall under the same continuum, with psychopathy being at the extreme end of the antisocial spectrum. Currently, though, antisocial personality disorder is the official diagnosis. And before I give you 10 signs that you might be dealing with someone with ASPD, let me quickly review the diagnostic criteria that must be met in order to qualify for this diagnosis. So first, the person must be at least 18 years old. Second, there must be evidence of a conduct disorder with
Yeah,
onset before
we
age
covered
15.
this.
Third, the disorder cannot be diagnosed concurrently with bipolar or schizophrenia.
Let's
Dealing
skip
with
back.
someone
Okay.
with antisocial personality
Are
disorder.
you still here, bro?
Is she saying that if you're bipolar and schizophrenic, you can't have this?
No, yeah. If you're bipolar schizophrenic, you can't have antisocial personality.
So it has to be mutually exclusive from each other, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So,
Number
wow. Because, you know, it's like when I was about 17, 18, 19, that's when I was getting into my most fights. Like, that's when I was like kind of
Yes.
like, I was the wannabe thug gangbanger type of dude, you know, and I was getting in fights and
Yeah.
whatnot. But you know, when I broke out of that, I didn't really fight anymore. And I haven't gotten in a fight since I
Yeah.
was 20 years old, and I'm 41 now. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like after that stuff I was going around like "Rah, rah, rah," or anything, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
one, People with ASPD are known to be able to charm their way out of almost any situation.
Oh,
They are
that is so true. That's something we forgot to talk about. People with antisocial personality disorder can come across as being very charismatic. The people with antisocial personality disorder tend to have a lot of charisma, and they really know how to charm someone. But like when they're charming you, what they're really doing is buttering you up so that they can make you do what they want you to do. Like I remember when I was in juvie, there was a guy that came in. His name was Daniel. I can't remember what his last name was, but he was antisocial. He had antisocial personality disorder, and what he did was he actually caused a race war on our facility. It was scary. Like he literally caused. I don't know exactly how he did it, but I know it was him that caused the race war.
Yeah, someone's that. Yeah, it seems like people like this often rise to power sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that Daniel kid, it wouldn't surprise me one day if I found out he was some kind of dictator over some poor country because he had the ability to really manipulate people really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yes. Pardon the pun.
typically social chameleons who can adapt and morph depending on the situation they're in and the people that are around. Even if they are not super intelligent in terms of IQ or academics, they tend to be superior in terms of street smarts.
Yeah.
They are typically confident and persuasive communicators who are skilled in flattery. This
Yeah.
makes them very good at manipulating and conning others. Although they can be extremely charming and charismatic, they can also quickly turn hostile, antagonistic, and abusive when aggression better serves their purposes.
You know
So
what?
even if
This kind of makes me think. Like I used to think my ex was a narcissist, but watching this video, I'm kind of thinking maybe my ex is anti-social. She has antisocial personality disorder because she was very charismatic. She knew how to flatter me to a point where I was willing to be willing to be manipulated by her. Like how it's like there was like she had like a high IQ. Like she had her master's degree in psychology, and and she was working towards her PhD. And like I said, she manipulated me. She was controlling me. Like she gaslit me. And I'm beginning to think maybe she has antisocial personality disorder.
I'm glad you broke away from that. And
Yeah, I'm glad I broke away from that too. It's interesting though. Like I realized, because I remember I was like a couple months ago, me and my wife were talking about something, and I came across an ad. Or, I don't know how I found this out, but I saw somewhere where it says, like the Flash TV series has been around for 10 years, and I was like, wait a second. I remember I was talking to my ex around the time when the Flash TV series came out, and I was like, I really was dealing with my ex for 10 straight years. I was floored when I actually realized that. I was like, I dealt with this manipulative witch for 10 straight years.
yeah, it's just rough.
Yeah.
they're acting charming, kind, compassionate, they're not.
Yeah,
And they can turn
exactly. My ex would act kind and compassionate, but she was the exact opposite of kind and compassionate.
When they're one on one with you, right?
Yeah, and like she literally, like it got so bad with my ex to a point where she was physically assaulting me. And like I remember when I got away from her and I went back to Colorado, I was still talking to her on the phone, and she had the audacity to say this. She was like, "Oh, how come when I was hitting you and stuff, you didn't restrain me? As if it was,
Oh wow, yeah. Guilt tripping you for not hitting you back, huh? You're even at fault at that. That's hilarious.
I know exactly. Yeah.
Man.
Nasty really quickly if you become uncooperative and don't give them what they want.
Wow.
Number two, they are constantly playing mind games and intentionally toying with your emotions to serve their own needs. They typically read people very well, noticing micro changes in facial expressions, body language, tones, emotions, and they are skilled at faking emotions in order to manipulate yours.
Oh my goodness. Like this really does sound like my ex because she was very skilled at faking emotions to make it look like she cared for me. Like she would fake emotions of compassion and sympathy, like, and it was all fake. It wasn't real. But I at the time I believed her, or I wanted to believe her, so I got sucked into her mess and started letting her control me.
Right. Wow, that's crazy.
They love to make you feel guilty, afraid, sad, shameful, so that they can take advantage of you more easily. Sometimes they like to upset you just for kicks because, hey, they're bored. Generally, they quickly zone in on other people's emotional vulnerabilities and they waste absolutely no time leveraging your desires, your emotions, any weakness that they detect and use it to their advantage. And it doesn't matter if you're their mother, their partner, their friend, no one gets a hall pass. Number three, they are very deceitful. While everyone is capable of lying and deceiving, people with antisocial personality disorder are typically compulsive liars, constantly
This
conning
actually,
other people.
I remember early on in one of my wife's marriage, my ex would like harass us by calling my ministry line, texting my ministry line and stuff.
Right.
I remember one time she like got a hold of my wife's number, oh my wife's email actually, and she tried turning my wife against me by telling my wife that I called her in the middle of the night. And
And
I
that's a
was
lie.
like,
She's lying, huh?
exactly.
Oh my
Exactly. She just made that crap up.
man.
People.
Well,
They have
yeah.
no
So,
need to
so
be
you think at first you thought you were dealing with a narcissist here, but the more you read the more you watch this video, you think she might have had this instead.
Yeah, I kind of think she had antisocial personality disorder, which
Oh,
based off of this actually sounds worse than narcissism, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. This is like a notch up more of where yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
consistent or to act with any sort of integrity. But they know that you have a need to be consistent and they love to use your integrity to keep you in line and to keep you loyal to them, making it very hard to
Yeah.
break away from them.
Yeah. My ex, she knew that I was a Christian and I was a reformed Christian, so she would pretend to be interested in the things I was interested in just so I could she was trying to get me to trust her. And I did correct me if I'm wrong, didn't she say earlier that people with this disorder tend to be chameleons where they can like act like what to be interested in what you're interested in order to control you? I could have
yeah,
sworn
right.
that yeah.
Even if you know how bad they are, even after they've deceived and exploited you repeatedly, somehow you're still there.
Wow.
Number four, they get pleasure out of how easily they can fool you and get what they want from you. They know all of your buttons and they know what sequence to push them in.
Yeah.
Anytime you start catching on, they will act fun, kind, helpful. And if you're romantically involved, they'll love bomb you for a while, keeping you
Yeah.
endlessly confused.
That's true. Like when I was when things like I remember when I was with my ex, there was times where she would quote unquote love bomb me. Like she would call me up when I was at the library just so she could like get all cutesy with me and stuff. She would like send me like all these heart emojis every single day, like multiple times a day. She would do all this other crap to like pretty much suck me into her nonsense.
Yeah, very manipulative and
Exact. At the time, though, I thought she was just being. I thought she was genuine. Like I didn't realize that
yeah.
she was bombing me.
You know the thing about our disorder, I think we either don't trust anybody or the other extreme, we trust too much. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And strengthening the trauma bond so that you never leave.
Wow.
Number 5, they have a weak conscience and lack remorse. They
Yeah.
may know right from wrong, but they just
That's enough of that one.
Yeah, I'm glad she said that they can't be the same thing because
Yeah.
I just feel like I relate to this in some ways, being bipolar and schizoaffected and schizophrenic, because I don't know, I have empathy and remorse, but at the same time I do have like a violent side to me too that
Yeah.
wants to do bad, but I haven't gotten into a fight since I was 20 years old and I'm 41
Yeah.
now. So at least I can say that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You're the same age as WrestleMania. That's kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I always know what WrestleMania it is because it's gonna be my age.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's interesting because you said you haven't been in a fight, and yet your birthday is on the same WrestleMania where there are quote unquote fights.
Yeah, yeah. So,
uh,
there's
I
pain. It's not exactly a contest. It's predetermined.
exactly, it's not a contest.
I don't want to call it fake though. I respect wrestlers actually, but
Don't you think? I know we're getting off topic, but I just want to say this. Don't you think it'd be quite interesting if WWE did this, where they actually had matches, and they were actually really fighting, and whoever won the match, they based the storyline off of whoever won the match.
they tried Brawl for All a long time ago in the '90s, and it was a disaster. But yeah, that would be kind of cool. I would kind of like, but I guess UFC kind of does that by default. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah.
All right. So I just have one more video for us to cover. It's actually an interview with someone with antisocial personality. So I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh man. Hold on. I'm having some troubles right now. Hold on. I'm having some issues. Trying to figure this out. Oh man. Oh, hey Joe, can you hear me? Try canceling out and coming back in. If you can hear me. Let me see if he can come back in. Let me see. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So let me see if I can fix this.
We're gonna need to get an AI partner.
All right. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
I can.
Okay, then
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
So as I said, this is an interview with someone who has antisocial personality disorder.
The guy with the glasses has it, or he's the interviewer?
No, he has it.
What is it
Okay.
like to be you?
I would say it's pretty average, to be honest.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
If you were on the outside looking in, you would say that it was pretty boring. Because for the most part, I don't. What I tend to do now is I tend to just really stick to myself, because I have to be very careful about how I'm interacting with people and under what context I'm interacting with people. So I tend to limit anything that would be negative for me.
Why do you have to limit yourself?
Because if I encounter a certain kind of person, and if I'm talking to you and I sense a level of weakness, I get kind of the urge to prey upon that in a way. So in order for me to kind of mitigate that, I definitely limit my social interactions. And
I respect his honesty there. He basically said if he's interacting with someone and he senses that they're soft, that he does have an urge to prey upon them because he can sense that they're soft.
Yeah, because I fall prey to stuff like that a lot because I tend to when I'm out and about and I'm out walking around the city, I do like try to take my shirt off my back for other people and like maybe give someone a cigarette or $1 if they ask for it,
Yeah.
and like give them at least a conversation. And I do set myself up for stuff like that, so I got to be on guard for that kind of stuff because like there's a lot of sociopaths and whatnot in the city, and so you gotta watch yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right.
I have to make sure it happens underneath the right context. Otherwise, I just, I try to stay away from it.
I have to be fully transparent. When you reached out to me and I read your diagnoses, I thought to myself, can I trust him? Can I give him the platform of our audience who I care deeply about? Are you going to try to manipulate me? Are you going to try to manipulate our audience? Are those valid concerns?
Those would be valid concerns for sure. But as I said earlier, I would say I like what you do, because definitely people have voices that need to be heard, and I would hate to, disturb that process in any way.
When you say prey on somebody, what do you
You could be
mean?
lying about that.
So
What?
You could have been lying about that.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You can't really know what he's saying.
Yeah.
the way it would work for me is, I'll speak to someone. I won't really tell them much about me. They'll tell me about them, and then once they tell me about them, I'll kind of form a personality. I'll exaggerate certain features about my own personality to match what it is that they're looking to see.
That kind of goes along with what that woman was saying, how people with antisocial personality disorder can be like chameleons. Like he just said, he would exaggerate something so he can make himself seem more appealing to the person he's talking to. And like obvious, like he said, he can actually read people really well.
When I go to mental health clubs in Phoenix, I've been to about three or four of them so far since I've been 18.
Yeah.
And you meet some colorful characters there, and I think on my channel, not in a comedic way, I don't want to make fun of these people, but I think I'm gonna warn people like what you're getting into as a Christian going into these clubs and what to watch out for and whatnot.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Then once I get my goal, whatever that goal is, then I'm done with the situation, and then I move on. And I've had feelings that I was strange as long as I can remember.
What was it like to feel strange at a young age?
Wow.
It was a bit interesting, I would say, because you're kind of able to exist on the fringe, and it's kind of like you're on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's on the other side of that window pane. So it kind of gives you the freedom to watch and to look and to observe, especially if you're a quiet person naturally. People can kind of forget that you're there.
Did you feel like a different animal, a different species?
No, I thought everyone else was. different.
You know
As a
what?
kid.
It kind of reminds. I remember that Daniel kid in Juvie, like him. I noticed people with antisocial personality disorder tend to be very, very, very intelligent. Like, I guess that's why it's so easy for them to manipulate and read people.
And read people right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why they're so
Yeah,
dangerous, man. You know?
exactly. Yeah.
as a kid, I thought they were the weird ones, and
What was weird about them to
Actually,
you?
honestly, this makes me think. There's a guy at. Well, I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not going to mention the facility either. But I know of a guy at one of the clubhouse, at the mental health clubhouse I go to. There's a guy there who kind of fits this mold. Like, he's very like I wouldn't be. I don't know what his diagnosis is, but it definitely does see he may have antisocial personality disorder just from based off of some of the interactions I had with him. This guy is like he's not just weird, but
Yeah.
he's like criminally weird. And I'm like
Right.
I don't know why this clubhouse I go to just accepted him in. Like I'm like they need to have a better vetting process because there's no reason why this guy was allowed to come in.
Right. Yeah. I think they give people a chance sometimes, but once you go out of line or whatever, they do kick people out of these places. But
Yeah.
sometimes they kick people out of places for absurd reasons, for like political reasons. But
Yeah.
it just depends on what kind of place you're dealing with.
But the thing is about this guy though, he literally threatened to burn the place down and he still didn't get kicked out.
Yeah, there's a I'm not gonna name the facility either. There's a place where I used to go to and he was threatening the place and coming in the place with a ski mask and he didn't even get it. I think he got maybe like a word or two, but that was about it,
But that was about it, yeah. Yeah.
but I get expelled, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are y'all? I guess why do you get so sad at certain things? Why do you get so excited over certain things? Like it's not. I just looked at it like it's not natural. I wasn't really able to relate to other people, and when people would get extremely angry or extremely sad, I would say as a kid more so I would actually get annoyed, or if people would get overjoyed and sometimes people get super excited, they jump up and down, they clap. As a kid, I would get annoyed by that because it's like I don't understand what's the purpose of this overt display? It doesn't.
Well, as a kid, he got annoyed with people getting overly excited.
Yeah, or sad. He probably thought that was weak.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Doesn't do anything for anyone. Just the fact that you got good news, it doesn't make the good news better if you jump up and down about it. So I sat back and I watched people, and I watched how they were able to do things, and I used this information to outsmart people. I was able to outsmart a lot of my teachers. That's kind of how it started, the manipulation and the lying. I would outsmart a lot of my teachers. I would come up with lies on the spot. Like I would come into class and my teacher would ask, "Where's the homework?" I would tell her, "Oh, my dog, he got rushed to the hospital last night. We were there late until about 3 a.m. and there was this problem and that problem and that problem. And I don't even have a dog. Never had."
He would make up very elaborate lies just so he can manipulate people. I can't relate to that. I mean, when I was younger, I did tell a lot of lies when I was younger, but I wasn't trying to manipulate people. I was just trying to like make myself sound better than I really
Yeah, me too. Yeah, like that's like I lied because I didn't have much of a life. All I really did was stayed home and I had
Yeah.
a friend here too, but for the most part, I was just playing video games and watching TV. So, like, if there was a Dare program or something, and they would talk about like overdoses or people on heroin or something, I'd be like, oh yeah, I saw a guy cross the street and he had a syringe in his arm and he was dying and the hospital came. I was just making all this up though, just so I could
Yeah.
like, have a life, you know.
I remember there was one time where I stole my foster brother's Game Boy, which was stupid because me and my foster brother were roommates. So it's not like I was dumb.
Yeah,
I
he's
was like,
trying to catch you.
I know, right? Exactly. But like the thing was when he caught me with his Game Boy, I was like, oh no, my mom got me this Game
Oh, you said that?
Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like yeah. I know. I something's happened to me recently about that, like shirts, you know. But that's another story.
Yeah.
The dog.
So would it be correct to say that when you meet somebody, you kind of size them up, and you say, okay, this person shouldn't or should be manipulated?
It's not should or shouldn't be. If I have something that I want to get, then I'm gonna do my best to get it.
Since I walked in here and we started talking, have you sized me up at all and analyzed any of my weaknesses and how they could be manipulated?
To be honest, yes.
I mean, when I was watching your video,
What'd you say, bro?
I mean, I was just saying. To be honest, he's probably thinking yes. You know, like when he
Yeah.
asks that question, he's probably like, you know, that's why he smiled because he probably does that to everybody. You know.
I know, exactly, yeah.
it was,
Actually, I would like, you know what? This guy would be perfect to be the host of How to Catch a Predator, whatever that show, because he'd be able to read those sex offenders that come in.
Yeah, that'd be funny, but that show that got taken off air because one of those people they caught like committed suicide. And,
Yeah, he was
like
he was like a senator or something like that.
he was a senator. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, he was some kind of politician.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot more. A senator, there's a lot less of them than congressmen. There's a lot
I
of
know.
congressmen. So
I know. I don't remember
a
exactly.
senator, I was
Like,
like, wow, a
I
senator.
knew, I knew he was some kind of politician. I just don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I thought about it, but I wanted this to be kind of like more of an honest format. But no, I didn't. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to. And it's also, I don't really gain anything from doing that in this situation anyway.
Can a person ever fully trust a sociopath, though?
I would say that you have to.
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Because like David Wood, if you probably know who David Wood is.
Yeah,
right?
he's an apologist, right?
Yeah, he's a pub, but he was diagnosed as a sociopath, and it's like,
I thought it was psychopath.
oh yeah, well, I don't really know what the difference is between a psychopath. They sound the same.
They're about the same thing, but there are some subtle differences.
Oh, there are.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just like, man, like, I wonder that can you really trust someone that's a sociopath?
You have to, if this is someone that you actually care about, you have to spend time with them and see actually where their head is at.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
And I would say if this is,
I
in
think,
most,
You know,
I think that actually applies to people with any kind of mental disorder. Like if you say, "Oh, can you trust someone with schizophrenia?" Well, if you get,
I would say yes because
Well,
not all schizophrenics are violent.
No, wait. I take his answer. If you sit down with us, get to know us, and actually establish a relationship with us, then you can learn to trust us. But if you're just going to judge us right away and not want anything to do with us, then you're not going to trust us.
Yeah, and you know, people when they know your diagnosis before they know you, they're already judging you and stuff. And
Exactly.
we're you know, like our diagnosis doesn't define us. We're people, you know, like
Exactly.
we have circumstances and stories that define us, not our mind, you know, so to speak. So
Exactly. Like our identity is in Christ and
Amen.
not the illness.
amen.
cases you wouldn't even know. To be honest, you wouldn't know until they did something to you, if I'm being honest. So, but if you're meeting someone like me who is gonna, you know, who will tell you, that this is what I'm going through, I would say watch them. You know, watch and see how it is they react to certain things. See if they, you know, are prone to outbursts. See if they're willing to lie to you. See if they're willing to manipulate you.
So I find it interesting that you said in order to trust a sociopath, you have to watch them, observe them, and understand their behavior. So it's almost like you want people to act like you, or you only understand the world from your perspective.
I want to say it's
Okay, comments. In order to truly understand someone, you have to take a minute to walk in their shoes.
Yeah, it seems like people with antisocial personality disorder are like psychologists within themselves. Like they can analyze what you know, like it's
Exactly,
just like,
yeah.
necessarily want people to act like me. I look at it like it's more so about your own safety in a way. If you're dealing with someone that does have those kind of issues, you know, they do have strong urges. That's where, you know, the observation point comes in, because you can't always perceive certain things like that based off of emotions. I'm really good at faking emotions, so you wouldn't, if you're going off of emotional basis, you wouldn't know.
Wow.
When would you say is the last time you've manipulated somebody?
It's been about a year.
A year?
Yeah, it's been about a year.
How have you gone a year without that?
I kind of limit my social interactions. I make sure I'm not dealing with certain kinds of people.
Did you always understand the negative effect manipulation can have on others?
No, I didn't always understand why people had an adverse reaction to it. Because in a way, I kind of looked at it like a game. And you lost.
Do you feel ashamed about people you hurt in the past?
Shame, not necessarily, but I do look at it as being inadequate.
Wait, what
You
did
being
say?
inadequate.
Yeah.
Oh, inadequate. Okay.
inadequate. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
It's low frequency. You know, low frequency actions, low frequency emotions. That's really, well,
What?
you know, that's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it doesn't really help anyone. I guess
I
it serves me.
I think he doesn't like people to over exaggerate their sadness or their excitement or happiness. He just wants it to be more mundane and, you know, like
Yeah.
whatever, melancholy or whatever that word is.
Yeah, that's melancholy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
You know, I get to fulfill a sensation, but then I have to fulfill the sensation again. So you could say, even for me, it's not working. So when you kind of think about it logically like that, and you gain insight, which is the issue, people that have, you know, that diagnosis, it's hard for them to have insight in terms of what other people are experiencing. So you know, you have to just gain a level of insight, I would say.
What are all of your diagnoses?
So when it comes to antisocial personality disorders, specifically, you can see a lot of overlap with different conditions.
You know what? Honestly, if I was to see this before watching this video, like say I didn't watch this video, if I would see this guy on the street, like I would not think he had an antisocial person. I would think he was just an average dude that was laid back. Like I would not even think he was reading people. I would just
He doesn't seem average intelligent. He seems above that to me.
yeah,
Average, yeah, he seems more intelligent than the average fellow. So
yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, before I heard him talk,
if you just saw him, okay, I see.
Yeah, if I just walked right by him, I probably would have thought anything about
it. Like I thought about this one time. I was like, we pass by people all the time, and we have no idea if they've killed or if they're a sociopath or if you know what they've done in the past. And all these people were walking by, and it's like, man, it's like you don't even want to know. Like, how can you handle it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So for me,
I remember those when I was in juvie. There was this 11-year-old kid that was there because he killed his parents.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have bipolar disorder. There's the antisocial personality disorder, and then also I have some traits of borderline personality disorder. Yeah. Typically, I'm a person with the antisocial personality disorder, if they're getting diagnosed, it's because either someone asked them to go that was close to them that's hurt by their actions, or they did something illegal, and now they have to see someone.
Why did you seek out therapy in the first place?
Because I was going through, for quite some time, I was going through basically bipolar episodes. So, and it was unusual for me because there would be times where I'm like,
it is a good thing. Like, that's a good sign that he's actually seeking out therapy, because that tells me that he actually does want help, which is remarkable, because most people with antisocial personality disorder, okay, I shouldn't say most, but I'm pretty sure a good amount of them, a good amount of people with antisocial personality disorder, they probably don't want help because they don't think that there's anything wrong with them. So the fact that this guy is acknowledging there's something wrong and he wants to see a therapist, that's remarkable in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know the statistics exactly with antisocial personality disorder, but I know with narcissism, it's kind of hard to zero in because one of the faults of it is because they don't want to see help. They think everything's fine. And
Exactly, yeah.
feeling a level of happiness, like this kind of overt happiness, and then there would be just this deep depression where I don't want to leave bed, or I'll be intensely angry, or I'll be so numb that basically, you know, I wish I was dead in certain circumstances. And that was unusual for me because throughout my life I was used to not really feeling too much. And I do feel like, you know, the bipolar disorder kind of resulted from the antisocial personality disorder. I feel like it came from me just, I guess, trying too hard to feel like I was a regular person. And then it never.
Oh man, that's so
sad.
it seems like he really does want help, and he wants to live a functional, regular life like an average citizen. He does. It seems like he doesn't. It seems like it's a really big struggle for him to not be antisocial.
right, yeah, you know, I'm gonna pray for this guy. You know, after the show.
Yeah, we should pray for him.
Works for too long, because in order for you to have people close to you for a prolonged amount of time, they're gonna find out that something's wrong.
Did you have any fear with
That's enough of that.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that?
Wow, it amazes me that like you can't, even with something like that, with antisocial personality disorder, you can, you know, throw all your eggs in one basket because they're not all the same. Some people want help. Some people, like, you know, they say they have no remorse. I saw remorse from that guy because he doesn't, you know, act like, you know, as little as there was, I saw heart in there. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it seems like he wants desperately to break out of the antisocial mode.
yeah.
So yeah, and the thing is, yeah, therapy will help him like get someone out of that funk. But what that guy really needs is the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Like the gospel of Jesus Christ is going to break his shell and give him a new life. Like it says in, I think it's 2 Corinthians 5:17, where it says, basically I'm paraphrasing, but it says, like, out with the old, and here it says, behold, God makes all things new. No, it says we are new creations. That's what it says. It says our old selves are gone, and God has made us into a new creation. So I do have hope that this guy can become a Christian, and he can become, and God will make him into a new creation if he just will humble himself and repent.
Yeah. Chances are we'll never cross paths with this guy or anything, so the least we can do is pray for the man.
Exactly. Well, that's all my videos that I have for us to cover. Is there anything you want to say, Joe?
This kind of gave me an idea for the next show.
Yeah.
Why don't we compare social sociopath with psychopath.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Sociopath. Yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, we can do that. Compare sociopath to psychopath. And also, if there's any other disorders that you guys, that the viewers or anyone wants us to go over, please let us know, and we can like talk about that on the next show too. Like, like, yeah. So just either contact me or Joe, and we can talk about whatever you guys want us to talk about pertaining to mental health. All right. Anyways, thank you, Joe, for joining me on this stream. I know it's always fun when we do this.
Amen.
And also, everyone, like we won't have the show next week, but we'll probably we'll have the show the following week on Thursday at 7 p.m. And I want to thank the viewers for watching this show. I want to thank the viewers that are gonna watch the playback to this show. And please leave a like, comment below to let us know what you guys think. And don't forget to share this video with anyone that you feel like needs to hear this message. And as always, if you've been blessed by the Christ Center Mental Health Ministry, please consider supporting the ministry either through Patreon, Venmo, or Cash App. For $5 or more Patreon pledges or a one-time donation of $10 or more through Cash App or Venmo, I'll send you a few copies of my books as a token of my gratification. All right, thank you, everyone. God bless you tonight, and until next time, have a good life.
Amen.